Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on Transformers issue 21 Image Comics review. Now, as you know, we are on issue 21 of the more recent issue of the Image Comics of Transformers. So let's get on with the story. So the cover mainly has Shredhead, Elita 1, as well as Cliff Chomper getting ready for an epic pose. And the story starts off with Doc reading the Bible, and we kind of see how Ultra Madness comes to and says, "What are you reading? Something that makes me use to make me feel safe in this face of these things too big to comprehend, like me?" Something like that. And we do kind of see how Ultra Madness and Doc get to know each other, but right away we see how Doc's commanding officer decides to kind of do some more research onto Ultra Madness, and we kind of see how Doc's against this, but right away they're quick to kind of find out what makes Ultra Madness tick. We see how on Cybertron, we see how Elita 1 is with Blue Streak as well as Warpath, trying to use Shockwave's technology to continue the whole space bridge thing. And we see how they've learned that there isn't enough energon to get to the point that they need, and they need someone small enough to enter in to get Optimus. And Elita 1 already figures out the person that she needs. And we see how Shredhead gets to know more about Cliff Chomper's friend Carly, and we kind of see how Cliff Chomper as well as Shredhead talk about Cliff Chomper's experience, and how Cliff Chomper had learnt from basically Carly that he's more bigger, and how everything is more important now. And we see how Elita 1 talks with Cliff Chomper and Shredhead, and that she mainly needs them for her plan. And we see how Megatron goes with Soundwave as well as Starscream to the Ark, saying, "You have done so well, Soundwave. Even with our ups in Starscream, you have kept the Autobots on their back feet. They are defenseless. The Ark is in a significant addition to the Autobots' power, Megatron. Even I know that." And we see how he slaps him, but makes it clear that he's more of a vessel for his plan, and transforms to his gun mode, and it's kind of clear Megatron is only using Starscream to hold him to keep him in some form of power, as punishment for not only betraying him, but for costing more Decepticons to get killed. And right away, we see how Cliff Chomper is doing more work on what's been corrupting Optimus, and after doing some further investigation, Wheeljack now realizes the truth, that it's Optimus's arm that's been corrupting him, and of course it's Megatron's essence that's been making him worse and worse. And right away we see how the Decepticons are finally attacking, and we see how Jazz says, "We got incoming! Bogies are over! Autobots, return fire!" And we see how Soundwave gets Devastator and Bruticus to act now, and we see right away, due to Devastator and Bruticus' petty squabbling, they fight more like children, and this is a fatal flaw to two Combinders, their ego as well as their unwillingness to work together, saying, "Who are you calling idiot? Bruticus, Devastator, focus on the battle at hand. Devastator think they're so smart. Bruticus will teach Devastator a new lesson." And we see how Thundercracker tries to get Skywarp away from the battle, and of course presses Skywarp's kind of teleportation device, and we see right away they take the whole Ark with them, and we see how, due to Megatron's corruption, Optimus isn't really thinking straight, and right away Optimus is horrified by what's going on now. But before Optimus can do any damage, the whole Ark disappears, and we see how Optimus' team fall down into the ground, and we see how Megatron says, "No matter, it makes our job that much easier. Bruticus, Devastator, pull your heads out of your scrap holes. But he said... And we see how Megatron makes it clear that he doesn't care about their petty squabbling, just do their job. And this is where we see that they're gonna crush down the Autobots. But we see how the aerial bots show up, and we see how Silverbolt, Slingshot, and all that turn into Superion and crush down the two Combiners. And we see Optimus saying, Jazz, the arm, it must go. It's infecting my thoughts, my actions against those I care for most. Gah! It won't come off. And we see how Optimus is now asking his friends, not only as a mentor, but also as a father figure, to help take the arm off. And this is where even they know that this is going to hurt them more than it's going to hurt Optimus. And we see how they all fire at Optimus, and you can tell this is a lot of pain, grief, and even pain, knowing that how much this is going to hurt Optimus, but it's the only necessary way. And after getting the arm finally off, we see how Superion manages to grab Optimus and his team, and we see how Megatron says, "You are an incredible warrior, Prime." But of course, Megatron puts his arm back on and becomes full power. And we see how Megatron transforms into his gun mode and tells Starscream to take him. And we see how Superion tries to kind of get everyone away quickly. But of course, due to Megatron's gun mode, Slingshot ends up dying. And right away, Optimus sees to his horror that one of the aerial bots is now gone. But we see how they have to kind of leave quickly. And Megatron saying, "Decepticons, prepare for conquest." And this is the story. So I think this one is definitely readable, but it's definitely showing just how much, well, Starscream was quick to waste resources, Soundwave was quick to rely on logic. This is Megatron making it clear that he's doing this more full force, and using a tactics of brute force, strategy, as well as being like this guy who expects his Decepticons to be more focused in battle. And right away, we see how a lot of these stakes have risen to the point where Optimus and what remains of his team are trying to stay alive now, knowing that the stakes have risen a lot worse. So it's definitely a readable issue, definitely enjoyable, so it definitely deserves thumbs in the middle. Kind of okay, kind of alright, but definitely a readable story. So, comic book reviewer here, signing out.